Question number 5, the Honourable Annette King.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker.
Tēnā
My
koe.
question's to the Minister of Finance. Does he stand by his statement that the chances of getting the mental health social bond off the ground was, quote, oh, very high, end quote?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I stand by my full statement, in which I also said, and I quote, the fundamental motivation here is that those who look at the kinds of issues where we want to apply social bonds are highly motivated about getting better results. So this is a small part of an overall program where the government is focused less on just spending more money, because that's often an indication of failure and indicates that the previous service didn't have much impact, and more on getting results for real people.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
Wasn't he warned a year ago in reports from the New Zealand Initiative, from government departments and examples from overseas, that the major risk of this experiment is the costly burden of administration in setting it up, and it can end up being a waste of money?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I'm not aware of the exact quotes, but actually social bonds have been successful around the world, and in New Zealand, well, the people as diverse as the Conservative Party in the UK, President Obama and a Labor government in New South Wales have participated in social bonds, and it's the sort of innovation that's well worth doing to tackle some of the more challenging social issues.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
If lessons have been learned, as he claimed yesterday, why is he continuing with a failed experiment which has wasted $1.62 million of taxpayers' money so far on administration and consultants achieving nothing, while mental health patients see their services cut?
That's right. The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, the member exaggerates and is not telling the story in the way that it would be if she was being factual. I will. And I know also the member is a fan of the old way of doing things, but actually this particular program is about tackling the very issues that she, for example, when she was Minister, couldn't deal with for many, many years.
Well, that was nice. Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
Will he rule out the government giving cash sweeteners to investors like ANZ Bank to get them to stump up with the money to get the social bond experiment off the ground, something he promised he would not do last year?
The Honourable Stephen
Well, Mr Speaker,
Joyce.
on behalf of the Minister of Finance, I'm sure he doesn't change his position in regard to what he said last year. But in terms of achieving these results, actually doing innovative financing programs to encourage people to change behaviour and operate in a different way is very well worthwhile. It's called innovation, and it can deal with some of the intractable long-term issues that, frankly, even that member who has been in the House a little while knows that governments have struggled with over decades.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Annette King.
Why is he wasting more taxpayers' money by proceeding with his experiment when the National Network of Mental Health and Addiction Providers said the whole approach that has been taken, quote, is a tedious, bureaucratic, slow processes that kill things before they're even born, end quote?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, he will continue because this government is always interested in doing new things in new ways to achieve better results in some of our more challenging social services. The member wants to always go back to the old ways. She always wants to look back into the past. And actually there are innovative new ways of doing things, and these social bonds is one of them.
Order. Order. Question